Thank you, Michael, and welcome everyone. We're excited here to announce the 27 new signees here, our signing class here for 2017. Really a great group of guys. I really appreciate the hard work of the assistant coaches and the way they worked and developed this class. And the players themselves, who really did a great job amongst themselves of building an identity with the Sooner Squad 17 and the way they, just the bond that they created with themselves throughout the past year. I thought they did a great job getting up here together many occasions, our assistants, and we did a great job bringing them together in different occasions to continue to build that bond, and it really held strong throughout this year. And again, I feel we signed one of the best classes we've signed probably in 19 years. I love the balance of it. There's 13 offensive guys, 13 defensive guys, and one specialist. I felt we answered the need in all positions to get ourselves to the numbers we'd like to have at each position, as well as the quality of players at each position. I just felt we really did a great job overall of getting and answering our needs. We always start in the state of Oklahoma and Texas, and to have 6 kids and young players in the state of Oklahoma was great, and 9 from Texas. So the biggest bulk, of course, with 15 of them coming from Oklahoma and Texas, will always be home base. But again, we're able to go across the country. Our brand really does stretch across the country, east and west, with great interest from players around the country, and signed a great number of players from out of these 2 states that, again, really I believe are going to boost our program, and really a group that I feel will allow us to continue to pursue Big 12 and national championships as we move forward. Again, with the talent and depth of this class, I guess from there I'll just open it up for questions.
What do you think about more Oklahomans than in the past few years?
I think always the challenge here is just our population numbers in the state of Oklahoma aren't what they are, whether it be Texas and some other surrounding areas. I think that always limits to some degree. But I've always said since the year, since I got here in '99, that though our numbers may not be just, again, because of population, the players in the state of Oklahoma can play anywhere in the country. When you look at the ability of so many of them that we've signed through the years, and all of them, not just the Heisman Trophy winners, the national award winners like Teddy Lehman, Jamal Brown, on and on, Gerald McCoy's, on and on and on, where we've had some great players in the state of Oklahoma that we recruited in this state that again could play anywhere in the country. So we've been fortunate to get a great number of them, and again, we're really excited about these 6 guys as well.
Lincoln had come in and kind of did his evaluations with the quarterbacks, and got Chris Robinson committed really early. How big of a jump start was that? I mean, building classes around quarterbacks. I know everybody's equal, but it seems like it attracted other kids.
It is a big deal when you get someone early that's the caliber and throws the ball the way Chris does. I think other players start to take notice early on, and that player, Chris, became a leader in this group early, and so any 1-2 guys that get it started often can influence to some degree. It definitely can have a strong influence on other players jumping on board as well.
Given that you've lost P. Ryan and Mixon, the incoming running back class might have to carry a little bit more than you might normally have. What are your thoughts on this class and how ready some of these guys might be?
Well, we just got off the road this week, so we haven't been out on the field with them yet. But recruiting them, Trey Sermon and Marcellus Sutton are here already. Great reviews on them just in a week's period of time from our strength staff. So it'll benefit them and us in a great way having them here all spring, winter and spring. That'll be a big plus for us to replace those two guys. And we love Kennedy Brooks, of course, too, a high school guy that'll be coming in June.
When you're recruiting those running backs, how much does it help? You can look and say, look at Joe Mixon's first year on the field, look at Samaje's first year. You can make immediate impacts. How much does that help in the recruiting process?
It helps. Those players recognized how those players played in their freshman years and how well they played, in their first time on the field. So, and it helps just the success they've had over the last couple, 3 years, and now they're gone. Somebody has to get those carries, so it definitely, is attractive, I'm sure, for those running backs.
I believe you had 18 of these guys committed before the season started. How much did the playoff appearance help in getting this class going early on?
I believe it had a strong impact on it. Anytime you have that kind of year and you put yourself in that position to compete for a national championship, makes a difference to recruits. I don't think there's any question. I think also, the vision of this stadium and the working facility underneath it was closer and closer, for them to walk in while it's being completed. I think both those things, along with hard work from the staff, gave us a boost.
You had 11 mid-year guys this time around. How did that change what you guys were able to do this final month in terms of visiting more kids or sending more coaches to a certain kid?
Yeah, definitely. I should have mentioned that in my opening statement. It's great to have 11 of these guys already, here working. Not to build their power, their strength, their speed, but also more depth in spring ball, more guys to rotate in and get ready to play. It'll give all of those guys a great advantage to be prepared to play right away in the first game. Then what it did, it just allows you then the second semester, once we were back after the bowl game with these guys already on campus, there's fewer people to go see. That allows you to go see more juniors and sophomores, which we did every day, in the last few weeks. And in fact, I bet we had 20 of them on, FaceTime yesterday through the entire day, sophomores and juniors. And I bet we spent 4 or 5 hours doing that yesterday. So it allows you to, to push forward to the next class to some degree. You're still visiting, players to finish out this class. So
When you have a class that's that big that early, usually you'll see a few guys, switch or something like that. That didn't happen a lot with this class. Was there something about that group that is special in that way that you saw?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, our ability to be close and with them as assistant coaches and everyone in our program, and the connection there, and I think the connection with one another, and the connection with the vision of what's happening here too. Just coming off of another top 5 finish, and with the stadium project being completed, there's a lot of positives, that they see to go along with, the unity that they had with one another and us.
How much has the continuity of the coaching staff really helped recruiting as well these past couple of years?
It makes a big difference. There's no doubt having everybody intact after your bowl game and keeping that together makes a big difference. Not having to change hands or switch in the middle of it, it definitely gives you a boost.
You have a junior college wide receiver in Marquise Brown coming in here. How much does he kind of fit the D.D. Westbrook mold or the D.D. Westbrook path? Very
similar because of his quickness, his speed is very similar to D.D.'s, built similarly. So, we love the way he goes after the ball, competitiveness, but he's got that exceptional quickness, so we're hoping he can be a similar type player.
Bob, you bring in 3 4-star wide receivers. What do you think about how that compares to past years in your recruiting?
Well, we'll see. These guys all have to come in and make plays. I believe they will. I think they're all really skilled guys with speed and proven ability to go after the ball. We talked about Marquise, C.D. Lamb, the player of the year down in the entire Houston area. Says a lot. And then Charleston Rambo, same thing, a guy that got big play potential, has made a ton of big plays. So we'll have all three of these guys will make an impact next year. There's no question.
You just said, we'll see, and that's always a trick, because with all the promise of a class like this, you want to see it translate to the field when they really get into your program and involved in the culture. How soon, Bob, can you see that?
Well, with these 11, we'll know as we go throughout spring. We should know by the summer. And truthfully, you'll have a feel, the way they can handle the entire 6-7 week conditioning program, that's building strength and power and speed, how they handle that. But I anticipate all these guys really making an impact.
Do you have a pretty good sense, because the group maybe is a little more unique in how long they've held together and been together and in contact with one another? Do you have maybe an improved sense of how they'll develop as college players? Does that give them a little bit of a different feel maybe than past classes?
No, I wouldn't say just the fact that they've been together gives you that feel, because you still have to do it. I would say what gives me a better feel is watching them on tape over and over, and then walking up next to them, the length and size and all that of all of them, gives me more confidence that, hey, they're many of them right now without, and don't get me wrong, Smitty's going to make a difference in 7 weeks, but many of them right now look like they can walk on the field and hold their own without it. So, again, just with the just with the size overall of most of them.
Robert Barnes just told me that he was really impressed when he got injured his senior year, that you called him and you didn't blink. And they said, hey, you got a scholarship, get well, hurry up, whatever you need us to help you, let us, that kind of thing. He believes that's really one of the reasons why you guys do such a good job and some of the things. But you've had injured players before that get hurt before they get there, but that always is a situation that, he believes that's one of the key things, and why the camaraderie you guys have among his staff to support the players too.
Well, we're always going to stand by our word, and an injury isn't going to keep us from continuing to to honor that scholarship, and Robert will heal up just fine, and he's a exceptional player and young man. So we do become very close, with all of the guys we recruit. And multiple people do. It isn't just one recruiter. I think too much of the time it gets labeled, oh, this guy recruited him. We do our darndest to recruit as a staff. Even crossover offense to defense, depending on the connection or where a guy may be from, all of that. So, but, Robert, for sure, and all our guys, we were going to stand by that commitment.
The crossover between having offensive coaches go visit defensive guys. I saw Dennis Simmons was a guy that looked like he was all over the place. What makes him such a good recruiter and able to connect with these kids?
Well, I'm careful of singling out one recruiter, because I just got done saying we recruit together. If a guy's in an area and he happens to be available that night to jump in on a visit, come on. And our guys are great about it. Dennis is great about being a team guy. If you need another person there that can help a little bit, he's in, but he's not the only one. All our guys are that way, very unselfish of who gets the credit. The credit goes to everybody getting them all, and I think this year maybe more so than any other year, we all did that, where it's multiple guys are tagging guys, whether it be texting, whether it be phones, whether it be in official visits, or in in-home visits, whatever it might be.
Speaking of that, Mike still looks pretty ferocious in a jersey.
Oh, Mike could still hit you, I'll bet. Yeah, it's one thing he didn't have a problem doing, but all those guys look pretty good. I thought Dennis looked good in his. Everybody looked good except me. That's why I didn't have one on. So.
Bob, we've all seen how thin you guys have been at middle linebacker the last couple of years. You had a guy committed there, switched late. How much does that hurt you moving forward just at that position?
Not much. We have 4 already committed, right? So we've got two to fill, Mike and Will, and we're right now going to also look this spring at Ricky DeBerry in there instead of outside with the guys that we have outside. So we'll be fine the fact that we signed 4 of them, and really all 4 can play in there.
you look at possibly adding somebody late just to see if there was somebody?
Oh, you always, there was a possibility or two, but we didn't feel that it was necessary because we already had 4 committed, and again, all 4 can play in there.
Talked to a lot of
And all
defensive
have size and range in there.
Talked to a lot of defensive linemen recruits in the last month. One thing they brought up is perhaps a move to a 4-man front. Is that something you guys are considering going in spring?
Yeah, because of all the spread we get, we just feel overall we're going to do more. We're going to base out of a 4-man front and jump into the odd occasionally, as opposed to being primarily an odd and jumping into a 4-man front. So, that's something we'll concentrate on here in the spring. And just, again, with the passing, the amount of passing that we get, we feel it'll allow us to get more pressure just from a 4-man rush.
Bob, the last 4 or 5 years since A&M jumped conferences, issue of how much that's allowed the SEC to get into Texas. In the past years, it seems to have had a big impact. This year, it didn't seem to have much of an impact on you. What's your overall assessment of the SEC's ability to get into the state of Texas?
Well, I don't think there's any question. They have a presence and a fairly strong presence down there, not just with A&M, but a number of schools, depending on the area and depending on logistics. Which some schools in the SEC are closer to that area than others. But it's still it's always been a battle going to Texas or going anywhere. And I think sometimes people think, oh, it'll be easy once you win a number of games, and it's never. It's always a challenge, and they still have a strong presence down there. But I feel though we've always had a strong presence down there, regardless.
Between tradition, facilities, maybe the kinds of guys you have on the team to begin with, what is attracting athletes now today more than anything else?
Oh, I think everything does. I think as you said, I think first and foremost, your ability to be successful individually, at that position, along with people like playing in championship type games and big bowl games. I don't think that ever goes away. I think your surroundings, your facilities, and those always matter. I think as much as anything, proximity to some degree is always a factor. Whether it's said so or not, it's always a factor, and to a degree, and more so with some guys than others. But
is there a sense of the more things change, social media, I'm sure we could think of other things, nonetheless, the more they stay the same, it doesn't really change that much.
Well, I think what you're saying there is, all right, there's more social media and different ways to reach players. So a part of what I was going to say also is it still also gets down to the relationship with the player, and his relationship with, the coaches and the teammates and the players when they're on their recruiting trip, I think also is a factor. So relationships, whether it be through different forms of media that there are now, how that's built is a continue, and it was formed different ways back in the day when we didn't have all this technology. It was more difficult to find the number of times to get with the person, but it still mattered, I believe, back when also.
I guess my last question on that would be, do you feel like, as a staff, were you catching up to it at some time in the past, and now you figured out the new landscape, or do you think you've been right there with it the whole time?
I feel we've been with it, but who knows, some years we might have been craftier than others, and we're constantly trying to find ways to reach kids and make an impact with them.
Well, I was looking at the Super Bowl rosters, and a bunch of Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, LSU. There's also a bunch of guys from South Dakota and Bethune-Cookman and all those places.
Always has been.
How do you guys go about trying to find guys that aren't 5 stars, 4 stars? You got a bunch of those, but how do you go about finding a guy that's overlooked but can really play?
That you constantly are. We watch so many highlights or tapes of young guys playing teams and games that, regardless of people may think, if it's sent into us, we're watching it and we're evaluating it, and it may not take long to think, he's going to have a hard time at this level, wow, you know what, he looks pretty good, there's going to be 4 guys watch him. And then they're undecided on it, I want to watch him. So, you're constantly evaluating players to see what's his real size. Has anybody seen him in person? They say at school he's 6'3". I walked up next to him, I'm eye to eye with him, so he's not 6'3". He's 6 foot. Those kind of things, you do your best. But there's a lot of evaluating and a lot of people going to see a guy. Let's make sure when you're in this area, stop by and see him. Make sure we know, what this, is he as big as they say or small as they say, and see if you see him on the basketball court, is he that quick? So you can find, there's a lot of gems out there. I said in my press conference earlier, I think back to our first year here when we got hired and I had, just the second half of the recruiting deal to go. We find Josh Heupel out there, who was a runner-up in the Heisman Trophy and national championship quarterback. Quentin Griffin was third team running back at his high school, and he ended up pretty good. Derek Strait, I believe we beat one team to get him, found him late. And I was with Bobby Jack at a basketball practice. I watched Derek Strait for 5 minutes at basketball, and I said, I don't need to see anymore. I mean, he was quicker than lightning, dunking the ball, jumping all over the place. I said, that guy can play corner. Anyway, so those are just examples of you're constantly searching and looking.
What's your thoughts on the 2 Oklahoma City area guys, Creed Humphrey and Justin Broyles?
I love it. We love recruiting players, in the state of Oklahoma, close by. We're constantly watching everybody in these areas, and just excited for them. Those guys are really good players. Creed, we love. We feel, he's played all over the line, but to be a big center, we feel we can be bigger in that position, and he gives you that and really plays in a tough way and has great size and strength already. Justin is a guy that was another leader in this class, and just his positive attitude and everything, the energy he brings, just in his direct messages, the energy he brings, let alone when you're with them in person. He got a big. You guys are going to love him. Yeah, he's got a big personality, but a great player too. Very, very competitive on the field.
When you have so many commits so early, how much did it help in terms of those guys talking to other kids?
It always helps, I strongly believe on your team and in your recruiting class that more than anything, players recruit players, and it makes a difference.
Does it put into perspective for you how long you've been here now that you're recruiting kids your son's ages?
Oh, let's not go there. Yeah, that were just born when I got here. Yeah. I've thought about that more than once, and I've brought it's come up in home visits more than once. Yeah.
Well, when you do that, are you impressed with you're still here, you're still doing it, you still got the fire, or does it occur to you it's been a very long time?
No, it doesn't. I don't look back on it. There's unless I'm reminded of it and have to. So it just seems like I got here a year ago.
I think you're a fan of Rome. Have you ever thought about taking the team out there?
Not really. If I go to Italy, I'm probably just going to go with my wife and maybe my family. That'd be plenty for me. But hey, more power to them. I'd like to see Joe Castiglione's reaction if I decided to take 200 people to Rome for 4 days. So anyway, I just assume when my players have a break, they get a break.
You got a couple of players playing baseball. What about Hugh Overton announcing he's playing wrestling?
Yeah, it'd be great. I know one thing: if he's wrestling, he's not loafing. So. If he can manage that, as long as his grades are good, and he's keeping up with his classwork, and keeping his weight and keeping his strength and what we need him to do, I'm all for it. That's great conditioning, and that's all about leverage, and there's a lot of skill in that he can translate to the football field too.
You mentioned Ricky.
Stressful is this day for you as a coach, and does it feel less stressful today? I mean, obviously with the
Well, every year's a little different. Yeah, so this year wasn't very stressful, but it can be. Yeah.
With so many people in, did it feel like, I mean, one of the least stressful days that you've had here?
Yeah, because again, half the class was already on campus, and the other half had everything in by 8:30. So that was sort of how you want it.
Is it always Christmas morning? Because, I mean, this class is going to be ranked very high. Others have not been ranked as high. You've always appeared as though you're crazy about your class.
Sure. It is like Christmas morning because you get to work with all these young men and develop them and see how they can, impact your team. That's exciting when there's so many of them, and and you're always anticipating what they can bring. So, yeah, it's like Christmas morning all the time.
With everybody in by 8:30, how do you spend the rest of your day?
Doing a lot of stuff like this, and donors. We had a function there, and different interview spots nationally, some locally. So I've been going everywhere about every half hour. So, but that's what today's for, and that's good. It's all positive.
You mentioned Ricky DeBerry, the possibility of moving him inside. Is there anyone else you anticipate changing positions?
Yeah. I probably shouldn't even brought that up yet. That's something we just talked about, and think Ricky wanted to do it. So, anyway, I'm sure there'll be some. I'm not ready to announce anything else yet.
Position changes, but has anyone decided they don't want to come back?
Not that I know of.
Can you move ahead on hiring that 10th coach yet?
No, that hasn't been approved yet. I'm anticipating if it's approved, that'll happen in April, if I remember correctly from our head coaches' meetings.
You anticipate you guys being done at 27 this class? You guys done this class?
For today, yeah. I guess, you never know what can happen, but.
You guys made any determination on Parrish Cobb with his status?
Well, he's been removed from school, so, so right now he's removed from the team, obviously. All right, thank you.